Welcome back to the Woo, everybody. Here with the commish, episode 4. Here with as always, I'm Bill Billionaire Jensen, your host. Here with the noble commissioner Larry Salisbury. Larry, welcome to week 4. Quite an eventful week 3. I'm sure we have a lot of to talk about today.
Very excited for week four's episode. It is rivalry week, despite what Aga's putting out in Discord right now. I have no idea why he thinks it's not rivalry week. Like, again, Aga living in his own world. We'll probably talk about that a lot on this podcast, but excited to dig into it. Week four was super exciting, especially for your boy, but won't spoil anything yet.
Lots and lots to talk about. Epic meltdowns, big trades, maybe a little collusion, and a
Ooh.
battle of two Brahma Bulls, Larry and Big Show. Let's kick it off with that. Larry takes down the show in the matchup of the week. What a battle between two Brahma Bulls, heads up, battling back and forth. A late Jordan Love injury, or not Jordan Love, Julian,
Julian.
Julian,
Yes.
Julian Love injury late in the second half, misses the game, and Big Show goes down whimpering. How you feeling?
I'm actually a little ticked off, if I'm being honest. Big Show and I, Thursday afternoon, went in to shake hands. He agreed that he was going to beat me. He reneged on that deal. So I'm a little ticked off the fact that Big Show didn't keep his promise there, but it is great for the Slam Chais. We moved to 4-0, top points. We did lose our DMVP, which we'll talk about a little bit later. Lost the top ranking for DMVP, but couldn't have asked for more. Could have asked for more points actually over the weekend, but couldn't have asked for more out of the Monday night situation with Julian Love going out because he was really chasing me down. I was kind of worried. I had 3 guys going. He had 1. DK, really the star of my team so far this year. Don't bring any more weak offers at me, Towner. It's just, I was happy to watch DK go off, but otherwise pretty shitty Monday night in that Tennessee Miami game. Did not love watching that.
I, on the other hand, absolutely loved it. My boy Jordan Brooks, just like I said, was going to come out and dominate, take down.
You're the only
Uh,
one watching that game over the Lions Seahawks game, by the way.
a very valiant effort by the last boys and Jesse. I may have had a little meltdown Sunday afternoon. Yeah, not too bad, just maybe a little melt. It was definitely sad sacking, but very happy to get a win and move to 2-2. And take the Kitty this week.
Meow meow.
Meow 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 meow.
Yes, great week for you.
High score.
Very high score. You did redefine the sad sack, which again, don't want to spoil anything for this podcast. We're going to dive into that a little bit more. Some of the league members have been brainstorming some ideas on what to call that exact situation over the weekend. But again, we'll dig into that here as the pod goes on.
It got a little dark for me, watching Jesse's team just pile up points in the second half of games after a really, really great start. So I couldn't say anything really too much, but sometimes you just feel it, the momentum shift on you, and it ruined me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Can
But
I read your last few texts to me on Sunday? Might have been Monday.
yeah,
Here we go. Brooks
okay.
is trash. He has JMO and Poyer still just a kick in the nuts all afternoon. Last 2 weeks, fourth quarter QBs have murdered my team, rightfully so. Then I get the perfect game script for garbage time goodness, and Kyler sucks against one of the worst teams in the league. I have a feeling it's going to be one of those years. Decent team, terrible matchup luck. You still come out with the victory. Brooks is, in fact, not trash and carried your team to victory. He was a top 4 performer for the whole league this week, not just for your team.
I may have to come back and apologize to 2 people. Number 1, Jesse. Sorry, it sucks to have the second highest score and lose. That is a terrible feeling. Jesse's putting up great points, and he's sitting at 1-3, the position I thought I was going to be in. So my heart does feel for Jesse and the little ass boys. Have to apologize to Jordan Brooks for
The whole Brooks family.
slandering his name. I mean, seemed like an average linebacker the first couple of weeks, and he came up and dropped 46 points this week. Thrilled. And it was from the start. He was making every tackle. He was everywhere. My slander fired him up. I know it. I'll take full credit of it. And then I want to apologize to absolutely nobody else. Fuck y'all. You've all been there. I've been on the receiving end of texts from all of you. So I will take it. I will admit it. I was a sad sack. I probably took a sad sack a little further than most. It was a dark time, but
You were something else over the weekend, which again, we're going to get to here in a few minutes. But, the Brooks family, fact or fiction, are linebackers faster when they wear a number in the 20s?
it sure looks like it, especially a 20, like exactly the two and the zero. Just it looks like you have wings. You're flying.
He looked like a running back chasing people down, which is kind of how he played. And yeah, had a ton of tackles,
He
had
was
a
in the
sack in
backfield.
there. Yep. Had a tackle for loss to basically start the game. Multiple times I wanted to text you, oh, looks like Brooks is going off, but I knew I threw that juju out there. I was I was going to be ogging you, which is one of the three, very potent strategies in this league that we're going to cover today on a new segment here in a few minutes.
I love it. I can't wait. Some other really good matchups this week too that came down to the end. Rimo gets his first win of the year over Sock. Last drive, just like last week with Nate's Miracle Monday Night. Rimo gets the Miracle Monday Night versus Sock. I think he had a linebacker and a tight end. Every just Laporta getting points. Ryan came through and knocked Sock off on that last drive. So tough luck, Sock, but great for Rimo to get his first win.
Agreed. And you were right. Last week we talked about the 0-3 teams who was going to come out on top. Two of them actually did. One of them being Counter's team, and then one being Rimo's team. My pick, Grizz, I'm still looking at his lineup. I still like his lineup, but he's 0-4, and I have to believe that the players aren't believing in leadership in that locker room.
Is it time for new leadership? I mean, is there a midseason trades or anything
Unprecedented.
coming? Like what's
Trading
happening?
owners?
I mean, I don't know if we could trade owners. I mean, he's paid,
Okay.
he's manning his team, but I mean, does he need to make a big trade or something? He needs to do something to shake it up because it does. It feels like he's lost the locker rooms of the muff divers.
0-4 is tough. I think Aga called it out earlier this week. He did start a year 0-8. I remember him and I having many conversations since he was still in office at the time about how something was possible there. Maybe just come back and have a nice championship team. He made the playoffs that year, starting 0-8. So 0-4 is a huge hole. You don't love to be there. As long as it doesn't kill your motivation week to week to make the trades, to make the right pickups, to play the right guys, he'll be in okay shape. But I haven't really talked to Grizz lately. I sent him a trade. It went 24 hours unnoticed, unresponded. Just I wasn't impressed with the owner in that situation. So I don't know what to say for him, Grizz. I've been defending you. It can only last for so much longer.
Can we talk a little bit about trade etiquette? I think we might need a couple of refreshers for the
Sure.
league here. I, at least acknowledge a trade, right? You may not like it, you may
Hmm.
not go, you might be thinking about it, but if you look at it, you don't like it, decline the trade. Like you don't have to send a counter. You just say, hey, I'm not interested. Just acknowledge it because sometimes we're holding our breath, we're waiting. What's going to
Yep.
happen? Oh, this is going to make my team, and if it goes 3 or 4 days and nothing, no acknowledgement, there's nothing more frustrating out there. So be a responsible owner. Here in the Woo, we're responsible owners and we respond to trades. We can't just let them sit in the ether forever. They say, hey, I got it. I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at it. Like, no fucking way. There's no way I'm giving you Jalen Hurts for a
Yes.
backup for a second linebacker and a backup running back. Like, there's no way that's going to happen, right?
The great PSA endorsed by your noble commissioner.
League leaders. So Kamara takes over OMVP, and my boy Bobby Spills claims the D MVP.
Technically Jesse's boy, but you did love him
Ah,
first.
I feel like Bobby Spills will always have a little place in my heart. He was great for me last year. Was a big target this year. Jesse beat me to him. I should have known with the Raider he was going to jump on him faster than I could get there. But
I had him circled on my list as well. We knew. I mean, you can't leave Raiders out there and just assume that Jesse's going to gloss over them round after round. He was definitely on my radar. Unfortunately, it was in an area that I'd given you some picks back, so I missed out on him too. I did love Bobby Spills this year. Did not think he'd be taking over number one and here in week 5, but he's deserving. He's one of the few IDP assets out there that are living up to the billing, and his value based on where he was drafted is exceptional. So nice pick for Jesse. Maybe now that you guys have played, you might be able to make a move. Bill, maybe make your first trade of the season with Jesse.
well, we could. One of the surprising things is I haven't made a trade yet. I put a couple out there, nothing big, just little backup trades that just haven't gone anywhere. But talking about scoring points on defense, how about that Eddie's defense last week, Larry? What'd you see from the plethora of points being piled on by that defense last week?
Between three of your players, if I'm reading this right, you had 158 points, which was almost enough to take down our survivor loser by itself. I
Oh, it
think,
would have. It would have beat Kyle. It would have been Nate, I think.
well, your whole IDP for sure, but just those
Yeah,
three
yeah, yeah,
players alone was
yeah.
almost so three of the top five performances in all of the Woo last week was Troy Anderson, 62 points. We had Brisker at 50 points and Brooks with a late night Monday night miracle, 46 points. Gets you the kitty, gets you a win, and more importantly, gets you to 2-2, not 1-3. You're feeling so much better coming into once again rivalry week, Brian. It is rivalry week. So this is an important week. And I heard people bitching about buys. Fair is a dirty word. It's a dirty word in my house. It's a dirty word in fantasy. I don't give a fuck about fair. I traded assets. I traded better assets for leaner assets to get in good position to face you week 5. That's how much I care about rivalry week. I made my team slightly worse in the long run so I could be prepared to defeat you this week. So anybody else that has a problem with that, go fucking trade. Man up.
Yeah, injuries are going to happen. Yeah, I'm a little disappointed outside of missing Troy Anderson this week. He's already been ruled out. Looks like JT's going to be out,
Oh, you hate to
facing
hear
a
it.
very, very strong slam chise this week. So it has me a little worried, but we'll see if the Eddies can mount a formidable opposition for the reigning number one seed.
I think we'll go down to it Monday night. I think it's going to be a tight game. I haven't quite dialed in the slam chase formula perfectly yet, but I have receivers that are bouncing back. Pittman had a nice week. I'm very excited to reinsert him in the starting lineup amongst some unfortunate sits for me this week. Like I said, I did trade some guys around, but I'm still going to be sitting multiple fine assets this week in Devontae Smith and Aiden Hutchinson and Zach Bond. I was really excited to unleash Bond on you, but it's not going to happen not until week 14.
Oh, I think you got to get a little all caps and Bond. He
Oh yeah, baby.
just feels like a linebacker. Like just feels like a guy that should be leading the league in tackles, doesn't he?
It does. Bill, I think
Yeah,
now's the time. Would you be okay with us trying a new segment brought to you by Mamitas?
I would. I can't wait. I feel like I might have earned some of this, so I'm pretty excited to see what you got for me.
Might do a little voiceover here, so I might cut some of this out since this is going to be, it might be like one of those movie intros. In a world full of woo, the Aga came first. First of its kind, relatively unknown, equally as potent. The Aga came first, and we know what the Aga is. It's saying something you really mean the opposite of, or you're wanting to break. You're either wanting to lift a guy up by saying he's doing terribly, or you're wanting to tear a guy down by saying he's going off because he has two tackles in the first quarter. Something along those lines. There's many examples of the Aga. We're all very familiar with what it is.
Would you say it's a disingenuous compliment? And most of the time,
Yes, and it's
yeah,
it's it's not meant, and some of them are maybe were meant to be harmless at one point, but now you know what you're doing. You Zach Bond has 20 last night. If I was facing you, or excuse me, Monday night, Jordan Brooks is going off like that. I am typing all over our text thread, Jordan Brooks going off. I'm dead. This is over. Just in hopes,
congratulations, Bill. Yeah,
exactly. Just in hopes in the second half that he know it just, kills his momentum. That's the Yaga. We then, over the years, came up with something called the sack. Getting sacked was really having something offered to you that wasn't sincere, I think is a good way to put the sack. Usually it was trades, wanting to talk trades, really just trying to be in the same room, but not pulling through. So many people have sacked each other. The sad sack over the weekend um, really is unfair to sack because it was just a playful use of his name. It wasn't actually something he was doing over the weekend. So I thought it was prudent to rename this, since no one uses this strategy more than Mr. Bill Jensen, to rename this to the Weeping Willie Gen season. Again, this was brainstormed. It took many iterations. There was Belly Aching Billy. There was Whining William. There was a lot of things, but I think the Weeping Willie makes a lot of sense.
not bitching, Bill.
Bitchin' Bill's great too, but Weeping Willie just has,
Mm, oh,
it sounded nice. And honestly,
yeah,
it's no longer just feeling bad for yourself. It is actively trying to reverse fortune over the weekend while feeling bad for yourself before your fate has been decided. And for you, more often than not, when you're within a couple points of projection. And I know you're guilty of it.
I I plead guilty. It is. It's a definite
Oh, the verdict's
strategy.
already been entered. There is no pleading one way or the other. You have been
It's
unanimously voted Weeping Willie on the
it
weekend.
is it is something you have. Sometimes you just have to get it off your chest. It's just out there. You're feeling the momentum
Yeah.
change. You need to say something. You're pissed off. You just nothing's working. You tried Aga.
hmm
You tried Sakin. You tried everything, and there's just nothing else to do but just
People can
resign.
they can reverse the AGA, right? Like
Yeah,
they can
yeah.
anti-hex. I did it on Chase effectively earlier in the year.
Is there a counter to the Weeping Willie?
No, no, I think we all agree through the years that when someone gets too high, like I am right now, or anybody else, it sucks. It's really the worst version of them. Then they get too low, and as a friend, you want to build them back up, but it is the preferred version. Now, I will say the Weeping Willie, I can only handle it so many weekends, especially since we experienced it week one of the year. I thought in no shape or form was Weeping Willie going to come. Little did I know it was called a Weeping Willie at the time. But Sack, if you're out there, we're redacting the sad sack. It's now the Weeping Willie. Getting sacked, of course, is still a thing, but the sad sack has been relabeled, and thanks to Mamitas, will be here forevermore.
I will ask, am I the only one guilty of this?
Absolutely not. No, it's an
Okay,
effective
okay,
strategy.
yeah.
And I would go as far as to say that if you're not trying these things and you're 0 and 4, like the Morningside Muff Divers, shame on you. These strategies are known to work. I think we talked about it earlier. You can apply science to this. It works more often than not. It's basically a science.
It's 100% effective unless it's not.
Right, but we don't
Yeah,
remember those times. No.
yeah, yeah. No, no.
Well, thanks for putting up with the new segment. How will we get into some of these trades over the last week? I am so excited to dive into these.
So we challenged the league last week. We kind of poured everything out. I think you called out specifically Nate Naga,
I
to
did.
get something going. I
Cry for
told
help.
I said the trust is lost between those two. I think it's proven to be. They don't trust each other anymore. They're
True.
friends, but
Oh,
frenemies.
yes, more to come there too. Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see how those go. So, this just last week, or is this all trade numbers that you have here?
This is just over the last week. So the trade counter that I have listed on our fine agenda here is just the total number of trades. The first one, which we announced last podcast to kick things off, was between myself and Rimo. We tried to declare a winner. Rimo was very quick to point out that he won because Singleton went down, which is fair to say. Larry loses that trade. So starting off last week, I'm going to turn this one around on you. What's your thoughts? This one actually was offered to you by the Pocket Agents. He sheds Mark Andrews from his team. There's no other way to put that. Really dead weight for Talanoa Hufanga from the 49ers. That was the first trade of the week, one of 6 trades. What are your thoughts on that trade?
I think good on KO to get out ahead and get Andrews off the roster. It looks like he's not a rosterable player at this point.
No,
A
droppable.
big fall from one of the elite tight ends over the last couple of years.
You're just hoping you get the red flag on him. That's the only way you keep him on the team right now is by throwing him in IR. Otherwise, drop, right?
Yeah, well, he's got to be on your bench or dropped. And with as little bench spots as we have and the depth in this league, you can't afford to hold him right now.
True.
So good on KO for getting something for him. He did spam the offers out without checking with people first. He probably could have got a little bit more. I mean, there's a Brisker offer out there that I was considering before it went goodbye. So
So, sometimes you
thankfully,
panic. Sometimes you panic.
sometimes the best trades are the ones you don't make. So I
Yep.
would have missed out on Brisker's 50 points this week, and probably a kidding.
Which brings us to our next trade, which was done in actually very similar fashion. And this was a knee-jerk reaction to Alex Singleton going down, as I spammed out Jameson Williams to many owners in what was a extremely fair offer, just trying to get a linebacker that is near 100% snaps, pretty productive. I ultimately landed with Jelani Tavai in that trade. I think week one, it's an obvious win for Jesse. My guy didn't perform. I do like it moving forward. I like the fact that I tried to leverage the Jameson hype after it had kind of been curtailed, but ultimately I like this one a lot more for Jesse. I do like it for myself from a depth standpoint, but total upside, it's got to be the little ass boys.
Jesse gets a nice 22 points this week from JMO.
Really
Good
in one
good
play.
offense. Yeah, good offensive piece to add. He's going to be the home run threat there. Goff only threw 18 passes this last week, went 18 for 18, and
hmm
the Lions just kind of had their way with that Seahawks defense running right
Oh,
through them.
did they ever? Did they ever? So Jameson unleashes, and that for me, that's like the last. flex spot you want on your team is someone that can just pop off like that, unless you got a home run hitter and you're just stacked at wide receiver and running back like I am. But otherwise, you'd want Jamison Williams on the team. So the
Yeah,
third trade of last week was between the River Bend Over Boys, a one-time top trader, no longer, and Chase, the countertop Aga Bottom. The players included Terry McLaurin and Micah Parsons make their way over to Chase's team in exchange for one Ernie Jones, now of the Tennessee Titans. Who's your winner there?
I think one of the better, more fair trades that we've seen
It's a
over
good trade.
this. I think it's a really good trade. I think it helps Chase on offense. Chase had some defensive depth. I think Nate didn't seem like a Nate team without an elite defender on there, and so I think Ernie Jones gives him that. Um, I'm going to say this is a win-win trade. I like it for both teams. I think Chase needed that offensive weapon in McLaurin, and he gets a Cowboy. And it sounds like Parsons is hurt now for a little bit, but
Oof, started
um,
off.
the offense for defense is usually a good way to go. But with defense being so hard to find this year, I think getting an elite defender, I think it's a fair trade for both.
Agreed. So we also had a more speculative trade. Jesse took a lot of heat in the office for this one. He moved on from Tyreek Hill in exchange for double Achilles tendonitis Christian McCaffrey. He was mid-flight coming back from Germany while this trade went down. I think this one was a bit of a head scratcher. Jesse might have overreacted to our podcast last week, saying you need to make a move. It
Yeah,
doesn't look great for Tyreek in there without Tua. I think moving on from him was probably smart while he still had a little bit of sex appeal. But for a guy you're not going to get back until at the earliest November, that was a little bit of a head scratcher.
Aga really took advantage of some teams this week. I think we'll get into that just a little bit after we go through some of these trades, but there may be some wanted posters coming up here soon with a little bit of trade rapey.
Yeah.
Especially with some of the articles he was spamming out to people. Oh, Christian McCaffrey's coming back, and it'll be here. Like, here's the article. Here's this. I know Host is a big fan of when Olga sends out his
Oh,
his
yeah.
his articles to have him read, and so I think Jesse got caught up in that. He didn't do his research. Busy dad, probably got running from practices to practices. He probably saw Christian McCaffrey, got excited, didn't know he'd be out as long as he had. So I mean, one of the reasons you spam trades is you never know what people are going to accept. And Aga probably got one over. Now Tyreek is not Tyreek. This is not the Tyreek that got drafted top 10 in the draft. With no Tua there, he is a little less than what you expect. But Tua could be back before McCaffrey. So yeah, I like that trade for Aga, and I think he should probably show some shame in his.
Well, speaking of which, I just invited Agatron into the chat room. We have a live Agatron on the line. Aga, don't know if you caught what was just said there, but we're assessing the trades. You sent over a trade along with a few articles to everybody for Christian McCaffrey. You ended up getting Tyreek Hill out of it.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the trade?
Yeah, I mean, I was desperate for a good player. I didn't want to give up CMC for, peanuts. I knew
Of course.
he's still probably going to come back at some point and he could be a league winner in the playoffs. Sent out a bunch of feelers. Most people valued him pretty low, understandably. Honestly, I didn't even offer him to Jesse straight up. I was trying to get a different trade to go through with to Jesse. And then I asked, who do you want for Hill then? Who would you take for him? And he gave me two players, said AJ Brown or CMC. So I said, I'll do CMC. And I sent it to him and he accepted it. So
Unreal.
Unreal. Now, you also in another controversial trade this week, Aga, of you and your brother-in-law, Towner, come
Yep.
together on a trade for Devin Lloyd and Chase Brown
Yep.
for Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I was really tired of playing the whole roulette thing with the quarterback. Just can't get it right, and I just needed a steady Eddie. Even though Hurts has been kind of down from previous years. I mean, he lost some weapons. I think he'll bounce back after the bye somewhat and be a consistent 20-point guy, which is what I need. Towner was really hurting at offense. Chase Brown's looking really good. I think eventually he'll take over the backfield, and Moss always gets hurt, so that's coming. And then threw in a nice solid linebacker for him, and he was happy with it. So he took the deal, and he got himself a couple good quarterbacks this morning. So I think he's looking good, looking better.
We got there are whispers of collusion happening here. Can you answer that? Was there any collusion with you and Towner?
Well, thank you for asking. Absolutely not. In fact, I offered him several trades, trying to get him to work with. I said, "You're so hard to trade with." At one point in time on the text, like you're like impossible to trade with. It took me a long time to even get a deal to go through with him. I sent him like 6 different offers, and then finally he just he was so desperate for needing an offense. With if you look at his team, he's got some injuries as well, and some guys aren't performing up to par. So yeah, I mean, he took a good linebacker to. Hurts is on bye. It wasn't going to help him out. He needs wins now, not later. Was he 1-3, right? So
He's 1-3 now. Yep.
So, and Hurts, like I said, he hasn't been performing kind of like Mahomes, hasn't been performing up to their standard where they were drafted. They're not even top 5. I mean, the guys he picked up off waivers are arguably better quarterbacks right now to start. I mean,
Aga, what advice would you give me as a non-North Sider to deal with someone like Towner? He sent me an offer this week, just a verbal offer for DK, and he's trying to send me just one linebacker for DK. Is there any reason I should accept that? And how can I reverse this around and turn it into a trade like you got?
That's a bad trade offer, Towner. Sorry if you're listening.
It's bad.
Yeah, you can't be sending linebackers for elite offensive players, especially.
Is there any linebacker in the league that's worth DK right now? 1 for 1?
No. Nope, absolutely not.
Oof.
We all know offense is way more valuable than defense. I mean, obviously, hard to say that after what Bill just did, scoring 150 points with 3 guys on defense, right?
Oh yes, he did. Wow, I just mentioned that on the podcast. You're a great listener.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I didn't even listen. I haven't heard anything yet. So, but yeah,
it's unreleased. You just knew.
That's crazy. It's probably not going to happen again. Congrats to Bill. That was an awesome win. Awesome comeback win. I'm happy for you. No dark side Bill this week, but that was huge. Can't expect
there's
that,
a Weeping Willie now, and
yeah,
there's the Augie,
you don't know this, but the sad sack has now been renamed to the Weeping Willie.
That's good.
Get your live reaction to that. The sad sack. Unfortunately, it was never something that Sack did. It just sounded funny because of his name. Yeah. Now, getting sacked, of course, is maybe something that was initiated from old Sackarada originally, but the Weeping Willie, I think, is a little more fitting for this, given how our weekend text thread's been going. Do you agree?
I agree. That's phenomenal. Great job on that one.
Thank you.
Have you yourself ever fallen into the Weeping Willie phase?
Oh, time and time again. I mean, every year I don't think many things affect me the way fantasy football does. Especially for a lot of us, we're all super competitive. We all want to win, and when things aren't going our way, it's easy to get down. And like I've been known to go to sleep after several bad weeks in a row, or just not wanting to think about it. So I'll just put myself to sleep so I don't have to think about it.
See, I don't go to sleep. I just want to
wake up positive. You try to move forward.
I just like to, send texts to my friends and just commiserate. I just need to get it out there. I need everybody to know how I'm feeling.
Hey, I'm not going to say there's no shame, because I am attempting to shame you on this podcast, but I did say that if you're not trying one of these strategies while you're in a rut or while you're losing, you're crazy, because it makes you feel a little bit better, and or you might get a reverse of fortune out of it. So I'm a big fan of these strategies.
You gotta hope for the reverse of fortune. The reverse of fortune. I mean, you get desperate. We're competitive people. Like, we want to win. Like, especially
we do.
I couldn't be 1-3 going in to face the 4-0 slam. It felt like I was in a really, really dark hole, and I needed to get it off my chest.
I would have been tempted to hand you a win had that been the case. I'm no longer tempted to do that.
So I get the best of Larry.
Here's the deal: is you should feel pretty good regardless of your record, because your team's putting up some crazy points right now.
It's true.
Whether that continues or not, we'll see. Because every year we see this with teams. There'll be ebbs and flows, up and down, up and down. You just never know what's going to happen each week, right? Injuries can happen anytime.
Speaking of scoring points, your team's not scoring points, but you're winning. How are you doing it? How are you doing it?
Let's have you looked?
How do you do it?
So the last 2 weeks, I scored 217, 220. That's not horrible. That's respectable.
Not horrible, but respectable.
But you're right. I have gotten lucky playing, two of the bottom scores, right, the last 2 weeks. But my team
points against
is
very fortunate right now.
It is. Well, I needed it. That's what I needed to win, though, with my team in shambles, right? So that's the only way I was going to win games right now. So 220 is not going to beat most teams right now. You guys are putting up 250, 300. I mean, the luck's it's not gonna continue. So I need to get my team back ASAP, or it's gonna go downhill pretty quick.
Injury bugs are biting my team. I've already have JT and now Troy Anderson out for this week. So
Troy Anderson, my God, what a performance! That was nuts.
Oh, rock hard
That's one for
nips.
the ages right there. I mean,
Glass cutters.
you know, JT, remember you were worried about you were going to trade him? I told you not to, Bill. I'm glad you didn't because he's awesome. But that ankle, it's the same one he had injured all year last year. So hopefully he's okay.
Sometimes the best trades, as Bill said earlier, are the ones that you don't make or the guys you don't draft.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like that.
It's
Bill,
true.
I mean, the first week his team was so terrible. He was
Yeah.
freaking out, and now he's one of the best teams since then.
We talked him off a ledge. We talked Weeping Willie off a ledge week one. He's rebounded to a 2-2 team. Aga, I wanted to throw this back to you. You've made this line famous. Since we opened this line up to Q&A today, what questions do you have for me?
Wow. Well, I always appreciate you asking that because I love asking questions and I love answering questions.
You're
Right?
great at answering. I should be asking you questions.
So first I'm going to ask you is your team's pretty amazing. I mean, you're undefeated. You're putting up high scores. How do you
Thank you.
feel right now?
Top of the world, which for everybody else is the worst place for me to be. You've seen me as a champion in this league. It's really obnoxious. It's actually cost me a lot of money. I reinvested all of my winnings from the 2021 season into roasting Bill the following year at the draft. So I think in some ways I'm a great champion. In other ways I'm intolerable, and that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. Is my depth is really good. I'm kind of playing roulette a little bit by removing some of my depth to fill in gaps for injuries and other things. But I think as long as I have the depth, I'm going to keep playing that way, tinkering with my team, and just making sure that I'm in good shape moving forward. So I'm feeling pretty good, Aga. I'm glad you asked me that question. What a great question.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching you, man. You're putting on a show this year, and it's impressive. It's week 5's coming up. We'll see if you can continue. I mean, we got three
That's a
champions.
good
We
way
got
to
three
put it.
champions on the line right now, right? 3 guys that have won. Wait, oh, never mind. It's just 2.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
Love that. Love that comment.
Wow.
Aga, before we boot you out of here, and thank you for joining, can I get your thoughts on the last trade that happened last week? I need a clear winner and a clear loser out of this. It went down between Rimo and Nate in one of, I think, the fairer trades we've seen this year. Rimo sent off Quay, Debo, and Xavier Worthy to the Overboys for Rashid Shaheed, Caden Ellis, and Drake London. What are your thoughts on that trade?
I thought it was a pretty fair trade. I tend to lean towards the Nate side just slightly on that one.
He'll be delighted to hear that.
I like Debo over Drake this year when he's healthy.
Yep.
Quay solid. So it's pretty fair though. Like I said, it's a really fair trade. So nice job on that one. I was impressed when that went through. I looked at it like, yeah, that's a great deal for both you guys. I mean, can't go wrong. Can go either way.
Can we call out Rimo as a great trader? Rimo's a really good trade partner.
He's
He'll
awesome.
get back. He gets back to you. He is.
Yeah.
He'll give you his thoughts. He'll come up. He'll work with you. I also want to call out Sock as being a good addition back to the league. Sock is always open to have discussions with trades and talk through it. You might not always get something done, but he'll always entertain the talks. He won't just ignore
it. Does open you to getting sacked. Let's throw that out there. He might get a little sacked in the process, but he does like to chat.
Sock has impressed me a lot this year. He's actually sent me trades out of the blue and responded to my trades instantly. So he's like a new guy. Incredible.
We did have a PSA earlier, Aga, about we got to stop the people that just don't respond to trades. Like, you need to respond to a trade. At least say no, yes, reject it. You can't let it sit there for 3 days. Agree?
Oh, dude, totally. And then, by the way, Jesse's been awesome. And he shouldn't feel down about his team after the trade we made because his team scored 290 something. And he has CMC. It's going to be cut for the playoffs. So, I mean, that trade, Tyreek looks like shit. I mean, he wouldn't have helped your team at all this week. So don't be down about that trade if you are. You should be really happy about that trade. It was a good deal for both of us. Your team's already balling out. You can have CMC. I mean, you could have a championship team right there. So
he's making moves in a year when you're scoring points, you're just not getting the wins. I can't tell you how many years I've been in that exact situation, not knowing how to get out of it. And the best thing you can do is just try to make a smart move every one week to the next. And I think he did try to do that. So I'll give him that much.
Yeah, his team's awesome. There's nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
Aga, before you go, rivalry week, let's get a inside information on how your matchup with Nate's going to go this week.
Oh God, why'd you have to ask? You already know the answer. I mean, we already know the final result.
Oh, let's start it off with a classic Aga. Who's going to win this one, Aga?
Well, I'm not Aga anyone. I'm just telling you, if you look at my team, I have buys and injuries galore. If I win, it'll be a miracle. I mean, it was a miracle I won the last 2 weeks. So, law of averages, right? So it's got to be a bad week for me this week.
I mean, it might just be your year. Luck is breaking your way. You had some bad injury luck, but you're getting W's. That's the end of the day. That's all we're looking for.
Yeah, it's true. It's all that cares matter. If we get to playoff,
and
that's
none
all
of
that
your
matters.
guys are out for the year, so you're going through a couple weeks. You're getting victories in the weeks that you're injured. Your team's only going to be stronger as you come down the stretch. So
Yeah, it is. And I do like Kelsey going forward. I'm sad with the injury. Host had to deal with this week, but I think it's going to help Kelsey out going forward. Just being honest,
Oh yeah, for sure.
targets. But all right, well, thanks
absolutely.
for having me, guys. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
buddy. You're welcome every week.
Later I'll be here.
We're gonna open the Q&A lines up in the future, and excited you were our first caller, buddy. Good to hear from you.
All right, you too, guys. Have a good day.
See you,
Have a good one, bud. All right, after some trade talk, let's get into rivalry week. And before rivalry week, we got to talk waiver wires. So waivers come through today, 9 a.m. What stood out to you?
Well, Trevin Wallace, I think, was the unspoken guy everybody's going after this week. Big Show and I were kind of joking about it about 8:30 today. I knew his bid was going to be significant, being that he has Josie Jewell, being that Shaq Thompson is out for the year, unfortunately, but he is a Husky, so who cares? He ends up bidding $35 on him, wins out by $7 over the next closest bid. I believe there were multiple $27 bids. I actually crept up to $29 at one point. And then while we were talking, I reverse crept. I even told him I was reverse creeping. He thought it was reverse psychology. It was actually just a reverse creep. So $35, Trevin Wallace. I thought that was a good spend. It's a good risk. He's got a good team. If you can go get an IDP guy there, I'll always call out like David Long, from a 21 season, who was previously unknown, stepped into a great situation. I think on the Panthers, obviously you're stepping into a good situation. They are the worst defense in the NFL statistically, I think, through 4 weeks. So that's a good buy.
To your Bengals, right?
Oh yeah, Bengals aren't far off. Pretty bad. Trey Sermon, I think, with $16 to Michael Sakurada. He also gets Jeremy Chin. Pocket agents were quick to point out Sock already owned Chin, so he paid $13 to have sex with his wife, basically, I think is how that works.
Yeah, it was fun today. I put a little comment in the text thread. Always good to see the people, the waiver wire heroes of last week, getting dropped this week to be pickup guys that you drop to pick up those guys. It's always it's a vicious cycle sometimes.
It is, but Chin did look like he was a good part of that defense. I have Frankie Louvu now in the trade I made with Kuhn. I don't think he realized that Ken Murray was out this week during rivalry week, which is why he just brought up on Discord that it should be week 4. I'm open to that. I remember him bringing it up to me last year. Maybe we move to that next year for the first week, make it a true rivalry week, and then week 14 is just kind of an icing on the cake, optional bets, optional everything. But love the mandatory bets for the first one. I don't know if everybody's on board with that this year. I know we had talked about it, but certainly we need to brainstorm very, very soon is the last place punishment. Well, that needs to be one of our episodes.
Yes. The overall bet, is it the loser has to serve the winners at the draft? And is there a group Starship Bengal banner? Is that where we landed?
We missed out on that this year. I thought that Grizz and Kuhn always had that kind of standing bet. I know that there was something that happened last year. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I feel like a group Star Spangled Banner is a nice way to do it.
The losers just put a little choir, maybe get a couple practices together, and now a couple different ways we can handle this. I like Sock and Big Show getting their bet out there today.
Yep.
To engage donors getting out there. They're going with the cumulative of the 2 weeks. So I think that might be the best way to go, is to look at both weeks. And I don't know that you have to change it to week 4, because there's buys in week 14 as well, buys in week 5. So I think if you put them all together, you just add up the scores for the year.
I hope I wasn't planning on having a full team week 14, not knowing there's a ton of buys that week. So
yeah,
kind of hilarious that he didn't know rivalry week was week 5, and he thought week 14 had no buys. Wrong on both by a mile, but that's why we love Aga. The only other one that stood out to me for a waiver wire was Justin Watson to show for 13. We have the thrifty Scotsman pick of the week was Wallace, actually, because razor thin wins it by $7 in the grand scheme of things. That's pretty close on a $35 bid. So kudos to show there. And then reverse kudos to show reverse Uno card. The DeMarvion overspend of the week was Justin Watson, uncontested $13 to Big Show. Kind of unfair to say DeMarvion overspend, since he is looking pretty good as a linebacker, but the name plays, it's going to stick.
It's got to stick. It's a segment. We can't change it. He could be the best linebacker in the NFL, and we'll still have to stick with it.
It was still an overspend.
Yeah,
could have had him for cheaper.
Uh, Overspends, underspends. Thrifty Scott, Big Show had them both this week. He's running down low on waiver dollars. I think he's down to about 15.
Hmm.
Aga, Chase out. Anything else stand out of people on running low on dollars that you can think of top of head?
There's a few teams. Nate's getting pretty low there too as well. There's a few teams that still have quite a few dollars. I'm in the 90s. You're in the 90s. I saw a couple other teams that were still in the 80s. So I like both strategies. So I like getting the guys that are going to help you all season early. I like the teams that are good that hang on to dollars so they can fill the roster with guys come playoff time too. I see both strategies. The latter is usually the Hef strategy, and I know he's got some bucks left over this year too. So I'm hoping to hold on to mine as much as possible. I really do wish I pulled the trigger a little bit harder on Trevin Wallace, but at 35, I'm just not sure I can. I don't know. I can't really make heads or tails, but at that amount, if I had got him in the 20s, I would have been okay with that overspend. But 30s feels like a lot to me.
Yeah, I didn't decide to bid on Trey Sermon for Jonathan Taylor. I'm hoping it's a 1 week thing.
Yeah,
Knock on wood. I just didn't see the reason to spend there when I have a couple other running backs I can play that I don't know that Trey Sermon is better than. Some folks you plug them into an offense and it's more of a system than the player. I think with the Colts, I think Jonathan Taylor's a significant step above Trey Sermon, and so I didn't know that it was prudent for me to spend those dollars even on a good matchup with that Jacksonville defense. So
got to feel good about it no matter what. Some people are okay spending funny money. You and I are kind of treating it like real dollars, which some
yeah,
leagues do that. Some leagues, it's real dollars to go get these waivers. And I don't think, well, Aga may actually be as quick to spend those too. I stopped myself mid-sentence, but I think the rest of the people would be more reluctant to spend as quickly if these were real dollars in play.
maybe we one day in the future we go to waiver dollars or real dollars and no limit, just to see how much money we
Yep.
get in the pot from Aga and Towner, and
Hmm.
every week it would be, it's got to be $50 to $100. I just got to spend it on this guy.
It would make a huge like Empire pot, which is a fun way to
Yeah,
do it. I'm in an Empire pot league. First winner to win 3 years wins the Empire pot, which I think is like half of the funds each year. So by the time someone wins that after 10 years, it's a sizable amount. Now, if it's a rando league like I'm in, you just got to hope that league safe is still like operable. We've already had a ton of issues there, but I'm a one-time winner in that league after 3 years. So it might not be one I stand for too long.
if you got one win, you got to see it through, right? Get those.
Yeah, that one's tough because it's super flex league. I was talking to you about this earlier. I have Tua and Russell as my main quarterbacks in that league. Obviously, this is a few years ago, so Tua wasn't even actually that great yet. So he's been a revelation, and now I'm down to nothing. It's a tough league because there's 12 teams, super flex. I basically have every team's backup, and I have no quarterback to play. I didn't have play one quarterback last week. Skylar Thompson got hurt. I had nobody.
Who are you playing in your super flex if you can't put a quarterback in?
Right now, it's Chase Brown.
Oh,
Chase Brown is in my super flex and has been, and I'm okay with that, but I couldn't even staff a quarterback. It wasn't just the super flex position, it was the
oh,
quarterback spot. I had no quarterbacks to play. I'm waiting for Jared Stidham to start. I'm waiting for Drew Lock to start. I'm waiting for just a Hail Mary somewhere, and it's not happening for me. I think I dropped Tyler Huntley a couple years ago, and even that wouldn't have done much for me this week.
so who are you starting in that league this week?
Well, nobody. Unless Skylar Thompson comes back and plays, I'm just without until I've made offers. I went for Trevor Lawrence. I tried to offer Michael Pittman and like a second or third rounder for him next year. They wanted no part of that. Superflex quarterbacks are just an exceptionally high value, and I really, even though I like the idea of Superflex, I don't like that portion of it. If there's one position that is just so valuable as time goes on, it's going to create dynasties that are unbeatable. That's kind of
Yeah,
how this league feels.
yep, I agree. Well, as we get to rivalry weeks, let's run through the leagues here. We got a couple fun names here. So starting off with the Circle K Circle Jerk Bowl, Bill versus Larry. I mean, matchups. We're both in it. We both have to give
Yeah.
our opinions. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, this week I think it's razor thin. I think it's a pick 'em. And I legitimately believe that. Just looking at our projection, knowing that we have a few guys out on bye, you got a couple guys hurt. The Circle K Circle Jerk Bowl will be decided on Monday night. I feel confident in that. I'm going to give myself the edge, but I really do think it's a pick 'em.
I would feel a lot more confident with Troy Anderson and Jonathan Taylor
Yeah.
in the lineup. But I do have a couple of decent matchups. I, I think I'd probably, if I'm betting, I would bet on your team this week. Just a little bit better matchups, a little bit deeper roster that can handle some of those buys. The two big injuries, I think, put my team at a little bit of disadvantage, but I think we're going to give you a good run. I think it's going to be a close matchup, but I'd give the slight edge to you just because Kyler's not doing much, and it's a terrible matchup with San Francisco this week.
It's a tough one. You're flying 5 red flags in your starting offense right now too, as I'm just looking at, excuse the hiccups, but yeah, I think Kyler's really got to come back for you. Your defense is going to have to probably, well, it's not going to have to replicate what they did last week, but if you can get over 120 points on your defense, I think you're going to be in good shape this week. Most teams actually that are winning this year have notably good IDP performances. I don't think that's like a secret sauce or anything, but teams that can get near 150 on IDP are right near kitty territory as well.
I don't know how intimidating Chad Muma and Mac Wilson are to the slam in my bottom two IDP slots this week.
Well, they're going up versus Isaiah McDuffie and Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I'll take JOK all day, but if I'm being honest, that's probably more of the Jelani Tavai slot. So putting those two head to head, that seems pretty close altogether. But I do love the fact that Frankie Louvu looks good to me, and McDuffie's loosened some snaps, but is still productive as a tackler. I'm all in on JOK, but I'm really scared of Jordan Brooks. He's going to a matchup where New England's going to need to run that ball, and they're going to run a lot because Miami sucks. So I love Jordan Brooks this week.
Just, as you know, Jordan Brooks, my favorite player. Believed in him all
Absolutely.
year. Jumped all over that. So yeah, no, I'm excited to see how Brooks does. Uh, LSC Chef Boyardee Bowl, Sock versus the Big Show.
Two of the better chefs in our league. I think that's a great bowl name for these guys. Sock brought the heat this year at the draft. I really think he's got the edge in the chef so far. I mean, Sock, he's a wonderful cook, and I loved having him at the draft. Flew all the way over from Indianapolis, which is why I'm going to give We Will Sock you the edge this week. I know it's a bit of a surprise that dongers are a force to be reckoned with. I unrung the dong gong this week. Felt really good about that. But Joe Burrow, he is mad. He's very mad. He got injured versus Baltimore last year. I believe it was on Thursday Night Football. It was. I was sitting in an RV ready to go to the Coug game versus Colorado, and he got hurt that Thursday night. He's been working his way back towards this game. Baltimore just spanked the shit out of the Bills. I expect Burrow to come out fast and furious. He's got the stack on the dongers this week with Jamar Chase. Love his matchups. Love his team right now. I think Sack You is going to come out and sack the dongers.
How about I like the Big Show in this matchup. I think Big Show's been putting up good points. Last week
Yes.
takes the first hit in the armor. I'm gonna go Big Show on this one though. Next to Brother-in-Law Bowl, host with a revamped lineup with Ken Walker back. It looked electric this week. Versus Jesse, who's coming off a tough loss. The best 1-3 team we've seen in the league so far. Put up over 1,000 points. Had some tough luck so far for Jesse.
It has been. He's done a good job of re-equipping his team as guys have kind of gone down. If I'm just looking at the projection, which I know we hate to do, they are 0.3 away from each other, 0.34, a Bo Jackson away from each other. And I'm going to take the little ass boys this week. I think I've picked against the pocket agents a couple times this year. It's nothing personal. Maybe it is. I don't know. But yeah, I think the little ass boys are scoring a lot of points here. I'm only seeing a couple of things on their team that are kind of red flags this week. I know Kittle's been a little banged up, but had a sweet head topper touchdown this last week. Devontae Adams, I don't know if you can play him this week. So that one maybe is the biggest question mark for him. And of course, losing Fred Warner's devastating, but he's got a nice IDP. He's got nice offensive balance. The PAs lose Rashee Rice. I'm going to take the LAB this week.
To me, this is all season.
Ooh, what do we call
I'll
that?
I'll just leave it there.
That might be the
Leave it
fourth strategy coming up here pretty soon. What are we calling that? When you come out with a very loving nickname and promise a championship to a team, that's very Kellen. We might have to brainstorm on that one.
I felt it all last year. I felt it a little bit this week. So yeah, I think this is all season. The Frenemigos, am I saying that correctly?
Frenemigos.
Frenemigos
The
Bowl.
Frenemigos Bowl.
Nate Naga, two former nonstop trade partners to bitter rivals. Can't get anything done with each other anymore. And, they both blame the other. And who do you like in this matchup, Larry?
It's the Overboys. I think August luck runs out this week. I'm looking at matchups here. I like some of Nate's matchups. Mahomes in New Orleans on Monday night. Don't exactly love that one, especially with Rashee Rice out, but like the Brees Hall matchup, he's got, for my money, the number one wide receiver in the league right now, Nico Collins. I think he's leading the league in yards. He might be number two in ours in terms of scoring, but that connection is real. He's the alpha there in Houston, so love that. Josh Downs is coming around. Chris Godwin's looking good. And then Debo's back and healthy too. So, yep, like the Overboys in this matchup. Agatron, if he can, even if he comes 3-2 through 5 weeks and starts getting some of these guys back from injury, I think AJ Brown's probably back next week. He's still in great shape. But if for some reason this guy's 4-1 with the second lowest points in the league next week, I'm gonna have to eat crow because it's just crazy. That's incredibly fortunate and good luck on the back of his terrible injury bad luck.
I I can't vote against Aga. He's got the luck. He's got the magic touch. I don't know what he's sacrificing over there to get these wins, but Nate coming off a tough week. Brees Hall's really giving a lot of carries to the young rookie there.
He has.
So
Braylon Allen looks good.
It looks real good. I just can't bet against Aga. I'm gonna jump on the Aga train this week. And sorry, Nate, I like your team better, but I think you just can't go against Aga's luck right now.
Head to head in that one, the Frenemigos Bowl, would you like to just a fun little $5 bet on it?
Let's do it.
Handshakes?
Handshake.
We do need to
Lunch.
sell our own bets for rivalry week as well. That might be
Yeah.
a post later this week. I don't know if we can cook it up on podcast. That's usually a brainstormer.
Yeah. One of the best names here, the Wonder Inbred Bowl, Chase versus Towner.
Wonder Inbred Bowl. Yeah, this one is a Northside slugfest. Two guys that are typically on top of the league that are struggling a little bit this year. Towner rebounded nicely last week. Did Chase win last week? I don't know what exactly his record is, but he's looking at his offense. I love Jaden Reed. I made an offer for him this week. Actually, a quite aggressive offer. There was a lot of waiver dollars thrown his way. There was a Dontavian Wicks thrown his way. There was even, when he was missing a quarterback, a Jared Goff thrown his way. Wouldn't have helped him this week, but still a very strong offer. He did not like it, but he was very quick to respond and thoughtful in his response. So, Chase, I salute you. And because you did that, I'm taking you in this week's matchup versus the Slumlords. I also like your team just slightly better this week, too. Love the fact that you have Terry McLaurin now. Tyler Huntley, you might want to move on to another quarterback there. I'm not real confident in that one, but we know you got the IDP, even with some injuries there, and looked like Pickens was developing quite the connection last week, too. So offense trending up for Chase. Ryan Towner, love the fact that he got back in the win column, but yeah, I'm going to take the Towner top, Aga bottom in the Wonder Inbred Bowl.
Towner's team, it felt like a white flag. The Jalen Hurts trade felt like a bit of a white flag.
A little bit, yeah. I'm
not feeling the interest in Towner. I don't know if it's just the app that we're on. I don't know what it is. If he's just had a bad start to the year. Towner was one of my favorite teams to start the year after the draft. I thought it was one of the better teams out there, but it's been ravaged by injuries. Made a couple trades now.
Mm-hmm.
I like Chase in this one. I think Chase takes this one. I like his
we agree.
Better. Yep. Star Spangled Spanner Bowl, Coon versus Grizz.
The Spanner Bowl. Love your variation on
Star Spangled Spanner.
It's a tongue tie. This one's a little tough for me because both teams, we're talking about rank 13 in Mrs. Doubtfire and rank 14 in the Morningside Muff Divers. It's one of those stinky Titans versus Miami matchups that you don't even want to watch, but if you got a player in the matchup, maybe you're interested. I typically like Kuhn's side of dominating this rivalry. I don't know if that's
whoa. It is not
heavily Grizz. It's heavily Grizz. Yeah,
it's heavily Grizz.
I like Kuhn's team, I should say. He's got a championship team a couple years ago. Excuse me, 1 year ago.
Oh, last year.
I know. I'm already so far off of him because he's 1-3 and 13th in the league. I thought it was multiple years, but yeah, I'm going to take Kuhn in this matchup. Looks like, just kind of looking through this, I think the Garrett Wilson, he's got to have a pop-off game here pretty soon. I don't love the fact that Ramondre Stevenson sounds like he might be losing his starting role here pretty soon, but that could just be coach speaker hearsay. Zay Flowers, the only thing that's going to get him back on track is facing my Cincinnati Bengals. So you can put your money on that one. And then the Marvarati, we talk about him every week. We all love Marvin Harrison. I'm looking at Grizz's matchups. I'm looking at his team. I still like his team. I voted for him last week to be the best or the most likely 0-3 team to come out of the hole, but it didn't happen for him. I don't know what it is. It looks like he's got some D lineman in there that's maybe never played football before. I don't know. He might have had one good week in there. I don't know why he's rolling that guy out. But talking about white flags, I don't want to admit it, but Grizz could be waving the white flag a little bit too.
We talked about it a couple of times. Grizz is fighting for his life, and he's kind of laying down right now. We're not seeing a lot of fight getting up there, and so Grizz, this is the challenge. I'm going to bet on you this week.
Lay down in the bedroom, not in fantasy football.
Yes, Larry says he loves your team, but he's not willing to bet on you. I'm willing to bet on you against the defending champ this year. So don't let me down, buddy. Let's get Kuhn dressed up for the draft like always, and let's get back to your dominating ways.
If I said I love his team, I misspoke. I love his team versus the other 0-3 teams was what I was trying to say. So I do love Al-Shair on his team, who underperformed last week. I hear Al-Shair actually is a little banged up, so I might send Grizz like a pity offer just to take him off his hands.
Just doing a favor, a good commish, like any good commish would do.
Good friend, good commish.
Last matchup, the Fart Fest Fire Festival, Hef versus Rimo.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what to call this one. These two don't have the most prolific rivalry through the years, but Fartfest Fire Festival is also a mouthful. Quad F. And as I'm listening to one of my podcasts this morning, after coming up with this name, this is on my way home from lunch, one Jason on the Fantasy Footballer said that there was a matchup out there that was a fart fest as well. So I think it was just destined to be this matchup. It's not to say this is a bad matchup. Hef's team's rolling. They're as good as any team in the league. His projection's off the hook. Derrick Henry's back. I mentioned this earlier. Any Henry looking for a good day going versus the Bengals, you're going to have a good day. So look for Henry to have quite a bit of yards in that one. He's getting a little beat up. It looks like a little thin at flex. He does have Kyle Pitts, who most of the world has given up on at this point. It might be time for him to look somewhere else. And he's in a Thursday night matchup. Do you really want to start with a 1.5 out of your tight end slot after Thursday? I don't know, but there's not a lot of other options there.
Next week we might have to dive into the total lack of production from the tight end position so far this year, as we're running on time issues here. But I like Hef in this team. I feel bad. Rimo's got the toughest schedule so far in this league. I think he's faced you. He's faced Big Show. He's putting up putting up some decent scores and just hasn't been able to, until last week, put that victory in the win column. So,
yep.
I think it's another tough matchup for Rimo. I'm going to go with Hef on this one.
I will as well. So the Circle K Circle Jerk Bowl, we kind of split pick'ems there. LSC Chef Boyardee, believe we were a little split on that one as well. Did we have one that we agreed on? I think we agreed on Hef, and we might have agreed on Chase taking down Towner.
Yes. I went Aga, you went Nate. I went Host, you went Jesse. Yeah, I think
you went Grizz, I went Kuhn. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Fairly split. Do we just do a total record on this $5 instead?
Let's change it for $5. I want to change it to a lunch.
Okay.
Gentleman's lunch. What do you say?
Okay.
Yep.
That's the firm handshake.
Firm handshake. Do a firm lunch, winner of all match, so cumulative winner of all matchups.
Yep. Done.
Yeah. Put it in the Bible. Let's do it. All right. Last call before week 5 begins. Who we got tomorrow? Falcons and
it's not Saints. They're Monday night. Is it Falcons Panthers tomorrow? It's something kind of gross. These Thursday night matches.
Oh no, it is Atlanta and Tampa Bay.
Baker Mayfield. Yep.
Baker Mayfield experience kicks us off tomorrow. London game this week, so get up early. Make sure you get those lineups set Saturday night, and
love those.
Only one Monday game this week instead of 2. So
thank God.
Yeah, I hate the double Monday. I don't like the competing times.
Not a fan. Nope.
Not a fan. No. Give us the extra games on Monday and give us 5 games in the late afternoon on Red Zone. We all want it. We all need it. Let's start focusing on that. All right. Thanks for joining us this week on the Woo. This is Mitch.
Go Slam.